With a literal tournament arc happening in the Four Knights of the Apocalypse manga at the point of its hiatus in this recording, we are potentially going to get Tristan versus Percival Round 2. If we remember, Percival and Tristan kinda fought during Leonis. In that instance, Percival was in basically his despair state, where his life-story powers were going berserk as he thought his friends were dead, and so Tristan had to quickly deal with him and knock him down. But that fight didn't have an actual conclusion, as it was stopped because Percival came back to his senses after his friends snapped him out of it. And now, Tristan is seemingly captured and in I'm just gonna call it the frying pan. I can't pronounce this goddamn name. In this whole prison in Camelot, where people go who are against King Arthur and his visions for Camelot, and potentially the rest of the Tristan platoon as well. And with the buildup of Gawain setting things up so that Team Percival can infiltrate there and enter this gladiator tournament that Beltrop, the Green Knight of the Four Perils, is hosting, we have the potential for Tristan and Percival to get a round 2 and a definitive fight between them. Now, before I jump into my speculations in this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make on the channel and shows you want to see more. I'll be trying to do more Four Knights of the Apocalypse discussion type videos until the chapters return, so please let me know if you like these. I want to keep the discussion going on this channel for as long as I possibly can until the chapter returns with Naku Suzuki's improved health. Now, with that out of the way, let's jump into this quick discussion. Now, Tristan versus Percival is something that a lot of fans, including myself, have been wanting to see since basically the time skip with Tristan's realization of Percival's return. Because if you remember, this was actually in a bonus page, a bonus chapter, at the end of volume 15 of the Four Knights manga, which Nakaba drew and illustrated, showcasing everyone's immediate thoughts after Percival's death, one of which being Tristan's disappointment over Percival just abandoning the duty that not only did they have put their trust in, but his father Meliodas put trust in Percival to have the dragon handle to protect the Coffin of the Eternal Darkness piece from Arthur and the Chaos Knights, and Tristan had to take it away as he saw that this was a full-on betrayal, as he betrayed not only Tristan's expectations, but also his father's expectations. He betrayed Meliodas' expectations. So Tristan definitely has resentment towards Percival after this big arc, and Percival's original thoughts and whole big declaration of all of them sticking together and facing Arthur and Camelot. But now, Tristan, we have no clue what's going on with him. I stated in my previous video from a couple months back, where we found out that Tristan was missing, that perhaps he's in prison and maybe he might have some sort of resentment towards Percival, and maybe he went on a solo mission to Camelot and got captured. That might be the case. It might be why he is in this prison in the first place. It's one of the only things that kind of makes sense for this to actually happen. Whether or not they have the dragon handle, I don't know. I don't think Tristan, even in a rage, is dumb enough to leave the handle on his person in a basic dumb decision to sneak into Camelot. That definitely wouldn't be Tristan's style, even if he was angry. And the Tristan platoon would definitely try and go and follow them. And I'm not sure how that whole pans out, but we all know that they are seemingly, potentially, in this prison. But Percival, now, he's back, has more of a grasp over his powers. He still states that he isn't fully used to his body yet, but he definitely has strength and power and a more mastery over his life spirit abilities. So, if him and Tristan fought, this would definitely be a really cool fight that could last a few chapters, maybe, depending on how things go. And it'll be Percival trying to make it up to Tristan for leaving, Tristan not believing him, and letting out in a blind rage, potentially succumbing to his demon powers, or maybe mastering his demon powers in a way where he is just in a constant rage, but it doesn't injure him. And Percival has to calm him down in this fight, and has to fight seriously, otherwise it could just lead to him and potentially more Tristan's own damage and destruction. This would definitely be, like, for this tournament arc, a final fight, a build-up to this whole confrontation. Hope basically fighting Pestilence. Or more specifically, Death versus Pestilence, or Hope versus the manifestation of light and darkness. Essentially, pseudo-chaos. I like how people say that Tristan, even myself, that Tristan is pseudo-chaos, but isn't actually chaos. He's just like, more or less a good balance of light and darkness. And I kind of like that. And having this whole anger and resentment towards Percival for leaving would play into Tristan giving more into his demon side, and thus making that more of his dominant ability over the course of these past few years. Making it so that even though he won't be injuring himself with his demon powers, he'll be fully more embracing his demon blood in this rage and negative mindset, and Percival would have to remind him and put hope back in his heart, and potentially help lead him into finding better balance with these two abilities like he was starting to get during the Demon Realm arc, thanks to Gawain's boost in motivation and support when he came up with the Annihilation attack. And this fight would definitely not be one-sided like their first confrontation. Percival has a lot more mastery over swordsmanship, and since he doesn't have an actual weapon, he'll be using his actual magical aura to parry and block Tristan's attacks. But since Tristan can, if he is still utilizing his powers of healing, might be able to heal himself from Percival's attacks. But as shown in Leonis, if Percival drains the life from Tristan to an extent where he can't move it, Tristan won't be able to utilize it or heal it. So that would definitely put Percival in a favorable position. But even in a blind rage, with sheer force and power, Tristan would still potentially be smart enough and more in his right mind to know Percival's abilities and fight around it. Tristan is smart, and even in a state of rage, if he's utilized that for the last 2 years and has a better quote-unquote mastery of it, he can still potentially think straight and strategize in this fight, even if he is letting his anger control him to an extent. Basically having a different problem than Gawain, where she just let her power throw her around. Tristan is letting his rage guide him, even though he would want to think things through more. And so I think we would have a huge clash between these two Knights of the Apocalypse that would shake the very prison, and potentially, I would love to see that, Camelot itself, to an extent. Having their vast power being felt by Arthur and the rest of the Four Perils, and Beltrup not only just allowing this fight to happen, thinking that perhaps this could lead to one of the knights killing each other after seeing Tristan's whole betrayal and anger towards Percival, but he might end up thinking that at some point, if Tristan and Percival reconcile in this fight, if they just let all their dirty laundry out, if they let all their emotions out, eventually calm down and finally become friends again and put their trust in each other once more, and Tristan giving Percival one more chance, this could also lead to the two Knights of the Apocalypse fighting Beltrup, one of the Four Perils, and to see just how much they stack up against each other. Because while Percival did do a good job against Worldane in that arc, she didn't use that ability to rewind time on herself and bring her back to full health. She primarily, in that instance, ended up focusing on just taking the drug and leaving, even though they failed to seal King at the end of the day. So while Percival was definitely able to take out a magic user, a pure mage like this, Beltrup is a straight-up knight, a warrior. He managed to get the jump on one of the 7 deadly sins in a instant. Even though it was Gowther, Gowther is relatively fast and observant, so getting the jump on him of all people is definitely a feat in and of itself. So Percival versus Tristan would definitely end up evolve into Percival and Tristan versus Beltrup, or perhaps a 3-way fight between all 3 of them to make things more interesting if Beltrup would just enjoy the fight even more and make the tournament that he's creating just all the more brutal and chaotic. But that could be an entirely different video in and of itself if I really want to just full on do a what if on how this whole fight could pan out. But for right now, Percival versus Tristan would definitely be an interesting study of their characters. Seeing Percival trying to win back Tristan's trust and bring him back to his senses if he did give into his demon blood and anger. Tristan having no shits to give for Percival anymore after his betrayal essentially and giving up on everybody. He would most likely give in to his negative emotions and anger to try and just beat the shit out of Percival until eventually the two of them would reconcile at the end of the day. As to who would win, my money is still on Percival due to his life spirit abilities and what he did to Worldane, but at the same time, Tristan was already incredibly powerful to an extent pre-time skip, and with 2 years, even if stuck in a prison, even if he gave in to his demon powers, he would still be exponentially stronger, even if he was somewhat stuck in a prison in Camelot held in by chaos powers. So things are still definitely up in the air. about Tristan's power level at this point, but he would definitely be a hell of a lot stronger. But if you want to make things even more heartbreaking, there's always a chance that Beltrop used chaos magic to manipulate Tristan's emotions, maybe even partially chaosify him to make the fight with Percival more brutal, and maybe Percival would find a way to heal people of this chaosification, if anything, which would put more importance on his powers of hope and life even more. But those are really my initial thoughts on how Tristan versus Percival can be, the stakes on it, the character's motivation in this whole fight, how it could evolve into a fight against Beltrop, and how things would play out. At the end of the day, what do you guys think? Who do you think would win, Percival or Tristan? My money is still on Percival because we've seen what Percival's been able to do so far post-time skip, but for all I know, Tristan could still end up being stronger than Percival at the end of the day. We just don't know, especially since it was a very obvious point of dialogue for Percival to point out that he's not used to his body and powers yet, even though he has a better mastery of them now. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. I really want to keep these 4 nights discussions going because I haven't been doing these at all outside of the chapter reviews. So I'm going to try and make as many of these videos as I possibly can. Hopefully the chapters return. But for now, enjoy my baseline speculations on what could happen in the future.